Okay, we're live. All right, guys, welcome to another live stream. This week we have Julius Giles on from Sacramento, California. Now, Julius is a YouTuber. His channel is very new. He doesn't even have like 200 subscribers. So, guys, make sure that you get over to his channel and subscribe. But he has a big Twitter following and he has some fire tweets. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, man.
What's going on, everybody? This is Julius. Some of you guys in Sacramento who may know me or who met me from other cities, I'm Julius. I've always been at the rallies here in Sacramento. That's how I met most people. That's how I got a chance to get my YouTube up. Born and raised in Sacramento. California is my home. I always say I live in California, but America is my home. That's always my biggest thing. So California is where I live, but America is my home. So yes, born and raised in Sacramento. Starting a YouTube channel to kind of get the dialogue started. If you guys checked out my video, I'm just trying to be out there, just have the conversation. Just kind of, get people to kind of not so much wake up and force them to see the truth, but just understand that there's a different side to the story of what you know. And just think for yourself.
Great. I love that you said that you're an American citizen, pretty much, right? That's where your home is, America. It doesn't matter what state, America's your home. I like the attitude right off the bat.
I when I started to realize that, because I realized I live in a country that this is my home, and people don't like the fact that you claim yourself as American. I'm like, but why? And I gotta apologize to the audience real quick. For the audience out there watching, I think I'm in my face a little bit, so I apologize for that term, but it is very liberal. Out here that want to wear a mask. It's actually pretty amazing. I got an amazing story to tell about that too. I started doing it because when the shutdown happened, there was a rally. I think it was, and it was amazing to go to. It was my first time actually going to a protest and really seeing people fight for what they believe in. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of people that we have things in common. So I got a chance to meet people, and I'm just having conversations, and I'm like, man, I love talking to people and all the research I've been doing, because, see, I only started waking up to the truth in like 2019. I always have my own mind, but I really started learning more in 2019, and it was when Trump became president. When I was watching like Trevor Noah and CNN and things like that, I always believed their lies, and I kept asking myself, why is there so much hatred in me? Why are they telling me to hate Donald Trump? I don't even know this guy. So when I took time to actually watch a rally of his, I was like, where's the racism? Where's all that bad thing they said he was going to be? So I thought it was pretty cool to take that time to find out for myself. So fast forward, I go to these rallies and I meet people and have these conversations and things I learn. I realize, wow, you people know what I know too. And I was like, man, it'd be nice to really just kind of have a conversation with people, because when Antifa started showing up, and there was this back and forth with Antifa versus Trump supporters, I realized that these folks, not Antifa, BLM, they only know a certain narrative. And so when I started talking to them and really having a conversation, I always tell them, look, we can disagree. That's totally fine. But just know that we're not out here trying to shut you down. We're out here to actually fight for you. And some understood that. And so I was like, man, I want to really have a conversation with a lot of people and really see what they know. And again, not so much to impose the truth, but I just want to see what people know, because I think there's a lot of people out there who believe a certain narrative and don't even realize that that narrative that they get their lies from, it's not so much that they're believing the lie, it comes from a certain place. Most people are dealing with trauma. So in that trauma, misery loves company. So whatever they see that makes them feel comfortable, they'll go towards that, even if it is a lie. So I wanted to have that conversation, to build my YouTube page, to have that conversation and say, hey, let me just have a conversation with people and see and let them know that, hey, we can disagree, but just understand that what you know is a lie. And if you believe racism exists, that's totally fine. You believe that. You will see how your life turns out because of it. But just know that this is the reason why they're using racism. You know what I mean? So I wanted to have that one-on-one talk and just kind of open people's mind. Maybe I might learn something,
Yeah, I admire you for doing that, because they need us divided, which is why they tar and feather conservatives right now, specifically being called anti-vaxxers, domestic terrorists, white supremacists. It's because they want the average person, the normies out there, to tune out what conservatives have to say. Because if conservatives and liberals get together and engage in dialogue and discussion, so much positive can come out of it. I do think that conservatives have the winning message, because it's all about freedom, prosperity, liberty, and self-reliance and doing for yourself and God and all the things that are positive. And it's not that the left has all negative ideas. I mean, I have lots of friends that are liberals, but we need dialogue. They don't want us to have that civil dialogue. And people reach out to me all the time and say, Mike, how do I get involved? What should I do to make my voice heard? I'm like, do what I did. All I did was I was driving home from work one day. I was working at Amazon at the time as a delivery driver, and I recorded myself as I was driving. I was nervous, but I just launched that out into the ether. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sink or swim. It's either going to take off or it'll fail, but at least I tried.
Yeah.
Still taking that first step. So I applaud you for taking that step and getting your YouTube channel. And you just started and it's small. So guys, click the link at the top. It's pinned in the comments. He doesn't even have 200 subscribers. Support him the way you supported me when I started up. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Hit the notifications because he's in our largest state, California, and he's talking to people. Remember in 2019, 2018, you had a ton of people doing man on the street videos. You had Mark Dice, you had Millennial Millie, Caitlin Bennett, Fleckus Talks. Yeah, slightly offensive. We need that again.
Now they're all kind of like hanging back. And I noticed that real quick too. I want to point out what really got me wanting to start my YouTube channel was because last year when, we had to shut down things like that, it was after the George Floyd incident. We had people, rioting in downtown Sacramento, and I was watching on live stream on SacB on YouTube, and I was watching what was going on, and I was like, man, that's terrible. I wanted to go down there, but I was like, if I go down there by myself, something may happen. So I'm watching this. I'm watching them destroy things, steal things, and breaking car windows and this and that, and I was like, man, this is terrible. So the next day, I went to go help clean up. I'm like, this is my city. I'm not going to let these leftists destroy my city. They destroyed a lot of businesses in downtown, so I went to go help clean up. As I was cleaning up, this black dude drove past, and he was like looking at me, he's like criticizing me. He's like, really, bro? Really? And I was like, if you were down here, you trashed my city. I'm not going to let that happen. I want to help clean up and, get things back to normal. And so I tweeted about that, and I was like, man, I told what happened and said this guy criticized me, and I was like, I love my country. I'm not going to let anybody, separate me from that. That tweet alone got, like, at the time, it was like nearly 60,000 likes, and I was like, dang, I was saying how much I love my country, and I guess that tweet sparked the interest, and I got nearly like 60,000 likes, 20,000 retweets and things like that, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. At the time, my following was like 350 followers, and that jumped up in less than 24 hours to like 14,000, I believe, or so. Oh, no, it was so 1,400, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I had another tweet. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm getting it wrong. When I had that tweet, I had 350 followers. Oh. That tweet jumped up to 14,000 followers. And I was like, wow, that's crazy in less than 24 hours. So I kept tweeting and tweeting. My next tweet was, I said, I'm not a black American. I'm an American who happens to be black. That tweet got nearly 80,000 likes. And I was like, dang. And that jumped up to 26,000 followers. And I was like, that is crazy. And so when I got all these followers, I started going live and just talking to people. At this time, I was going to Trump rallies and kind of just live streaming and just reporting what's going on. I got more involved with what was going on with the riots and things like that, with Antifa running around with BLM. I was like out there filming, doing things like that. So I was basically doing what Elijah was doing, minus the the good film quality and things like that. I was with my phone just live streaming. And so when I was involved in all that, I was like, man, I like reporting to the people what's going on. So that's what sparked the interest to get my YouTube started as well.
Gotcha. So I'm hearing an echo now. On your end. On my end. I don't know if something changed with your microphone or not, but there's an echo. Okay. It sounds like it's good now.
Okay.
So you're basically doing what's slightly offensive Elijah's doing, only without the Glenn Beck dollars to back you. I get it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I got to correct you on one thing you said, though. You said that during the George Floyd situation that they were rioting and tearing up Sacramento. And I got to correct you on that because that's not correct. They were mostly peacefully protesting. It wasn't riots, man. It was
Right. No,
peacefully
you're right.
protesting.
Yeah, you're
In,
right. You're right.
in fact, my intel told me that it was actually white supremacists that came and started it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
And
just wanted to correct you on that, man. It was not
you're
riot; it was
right,
peaceful
man. You're right.
protest.
I apologize for being wrong. I'm sorry. It's misinformation. I'm sorry about that. You're definitely right, man. It was a whole bunch of white supremacists. I couldn't take it. I went down there and said, nope, not me. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't spread that kind of dangerous misinformation, man. People might wake up and see what's actually happening. But no, all jokes aside, the fact that YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, all the social media platforms have been putting their thumb on the scale when it comes to content, just tells you that we have the winning message, because you can put let's say a random Ben Shapiro clip or something online, and then contrast that with something like the Young Turks. Ben Shapiro will blow them out of the water, because 9 times out of 10, people are being exposed to new information that's relevant. It's fact-based. It's interesting versus the same old dog-tired narrative about how everything's racist and it's the rich people that are oppressing everybody. It's the same garbage coming from the left. And what YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and the rest you do is they will they'll dismantle the like and dislike. Like you said, you got 80,000 likes on a tweet. That says something about what you had to say. The like and dislike ratio, the fact that you can retweet, the fact that you can leave comments, it's a way for the public to vote on matters in real time, right? You can vote on it and say like, yeah, I'm going to upvote this video because I think it's great, or I'm going to downvote it because I disagree with that. And now you have YouTube trying to dismantle the like and dislike ratio. Why? We know why. Because of the White House YouTube channel. Every time Biden live streams, he'll get like 1,500 people watching and like 20,000 downvotes and maybe like 1,200 upvotes. It's very skewed. So the like to dislike ratio is a way to show like, look, people aren't feeling it. The majority of people think this about this guy, and they're trying to protect this man. They're going so far to protect him. And the whole leftist message in the narrative, same thing goes for these like stupid woke commercials, Gillette, all these dumb propaganda videos. They get ratioed as well. And YouTube thinks, well, let's just remove the like to dislike ratio because that alone is getting people to see that this isn't popular. They try to tell you it's popular. They make it seem popular, but in reality, it's not popular.
Yeah, that's propaganda, because if you can convince people that, oh, well, there's no dislike, everybody likes this, maybe I should like it too. And I noticed that too with Joe Biden. Since he got inaugurated, every video that he's done has always been more dislikes than likes. And it's just crazy to me how basically Biden has a PR team. The media has become Biden's PR team. When they ask him questions, they throw softballs at him. Everything he does, it blows my mind how, when you talk about, YouTube and things like that. I want to talk about this real quick with Steven Crowder, for example. When Steven Crowder did the investigation for, I believe it was Michigan, and he sent one of his team out there to find these addresses, YouTube removed that video. That should tell you that there's a lot of truth in what, I can't confirm or deny with the elections because you know what happens on YouTube, but the fact that they took away Steven Crowder's video because he did an investigation with facts, that tells you that there's something going on. I can't confirm with the elections, if they were stolen or not. We all know it though, but that should tell you what's going on. As a matter of fact, they even removed Donald Trump's recent interview with Laura Trump. That should tell you exactly what's going on. It's pretty much communism that's happening in this country. And it's so crazy how people are just accepting it on the left and the right. No one's going to be doing anything about this. We point out and go, oh man, Steven Crowder, oh man, Trump. All right, back to tweeting, and like we're not doing nothing about it. And that's, I think, the biggest issue right now with this censorship is that we're talking about it, but what are we doing about it? When Facebook and Instagram remove Trump's interview, or when YouTube removes Steven Crowder, or when Twitter suspends people for telling the truth, we should be boycotting these things. The same way we were all over Netflix when the QDs came out, we were all over that. We should be moving away from Facebook, moving away from Instagram, even maybe YouTube, and going to Rumble. When you talk about, when you were advising, the people who are watching to follow me on YouTube, we should be doing that same thing with Rumble, with Gab, with the actual social media platforms that are okay in the free speech. You know, we shouldn't be using Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube if they're willing to remove people because they're telling the truth with the facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, but the problem is it's hard to just completely migrate away from it. For example, we're on YouTube right now where I have 61,000 subscribers. If I just put my content on Rumble, I don't even have like 200 subscribers there. So I'd be cutting my own reach by more, like I'd be cutting it down less than a tenth. It'd be like so small. Also, staying on platforms like Twitter and Facebook until they kick you off means that you are behind enemy lines. You're where they don't want you to be. They don't want you to post on there, which is why you should post on there, because who you're reaching on there, like I hate that I've been thrown off Instagram because I had a lot of friends and family who don't pay attention to politics, but they saw my Instagram posts. I was very strategic with my Instagram. I didn't just post random things. I would post the hypocrisy of the media. I would post like, hey, look, here's Joe Biden saying the exact same thing they called Trump a racist for. Here's Hillary Clinton saying we needed a fence on the southern border. I used to post those kinds of videos. It's like they threw me off Instagram for posting videos of other people talking and me catching them in lies and showing the double standard and the hypocrisy. So the fact that they're throwing Trump off of Twitter and they're deleting his voice, they don't want him talking on the internet, just means that they are really afraid, which is why we got to go pedal to the metal. So it's like, if they want to throw Steven Crowder off of YouTube or if they want to remove his content, guess what? Somebody else can take Steven Crowder's clips and upload them. It's just like when they threw Alex Jones off. You can, to this day, search InfoWars on YouTube. If you search it correctly, I know how to do it. I don't want YouTube to find out how I do it, but I know how to do it. You can still find Alex Jones. So you might get rid of him, but he's already been multiplied because of the internet. So you can just have a fake Alex Jones account that posts his show every single day. You do the same thing for Trump, same thing for Crowder. And while you're doing that, you're reaching a larger number of people. And that's what they're so afraid of. That's why they have to suppress the truth. They have to invert reality. They have to present the polar opposite of what is actually true. Yeah. And not only that, they have to suppress the truth while they superimpose the lie, because the lie can only exist in the absence of truth, right? They can't have somebody poking holes in their narrative, just like COVID. We'll get to that later, because I've got a whole list of things that I wrote out today so that I can just memorize it like a script. Every time I need to talk about COVID, talk about these vaccine passports, I got all my ducks in a row. I got all my talking points. They cannot be debunked because it's the truth. Yeah. Right? That's what it is. We have to stay on these platforms. Definitely build out your social media presence on. I'm on all of them. I can't even memorize all of them. I just don't even know. I'm on Gab, MeWe, Parler, Minds, BitChute. There's just too many, but I can't even keep up with all the posting. So that was a long-winded way of me just saying we got to keep going. We got to go full throttle, because what we're doing is working. And then banning Trump, taking down all these videos, Steven Crowder and the rest, just means that they're afraid. Yeah. And that's what I noticed too, even with, my following account. When Twitter had that big purge not too long ago, I was at like over 26,000 followers, and then it just jumped down. I lost like 10,000 followers. And so I see I'm gaining some back, but I'm losing some. But I noticed that too, is that when I tweet certain things, it gets like 2 or 3 likes or something like that. But if I tweet something else, it gets like 1,000 likes. I'm seeing how the algorithm is working on Twitter, and it really is unfortunate that these big tech giants are suppressing the truth. And then people say, "Oh, they're a private company," but it's like, but we have a right to free speech. Doesn't that trump these private companies? It's like when people say, "Oh, you go into a business, you gotta wear a mask because they're a private company." But if we have a civil rights act that literally says we can go into a building without being discriminated against, we should just go in there without a mask on. Because if so, then they're discriminating against us. We have these rights, but it's like the rights no longer exist. And that's what really kind of concerns me, is that our rights are no longer existing. We can state we have these rights, but they no longer exist. And I don't know. It's just mind blowing where we're at right now. In 2021, we're still dealing with
racism. We're still dealing with, people who don't like Trump supporters. We're still dealing with the whole January 6th thing, with, all that kind of stuff. We have bigger issues. You named it with the vaccine passport. That should be something that everybody should be focused on right now, is the vaccine passport. If you have to go places and show your papers where you have to go, it's horrible. It's ridiculous to me. I should have to want to take a trip somewhere and show that I'm vaccinated. It's ridiculous. And it's getting to a point now where it's like they want vaccine passports, but they don't want voter ID. So it's really this strange world we're living in. But we really should be focusing on the vaccine passport. That's the biggest thing, because it's not so much the vaccine passport, it's what they can do with it. It's what they can implement with it. The same thing with the COVID relief package. They released this package where we're going to give you, a stimulus, but in this bill, other things go along with it. We're giving money over here for gender studies and things like that. We're not seeing the bigger picture. And I think that's the problem right now. We're seeing all the small things, but we're not seeing the bigger picture. And the vaccine passport is the biggest picture. In a way, I kind of wish, we talk about Trump. I kind of wish Trump would talk about that. I know he kind of made himself known, president, things like that. I kind of wish he would talk about that, but he hasn't really been talking about that lately. He's been talking about how he's been pushing the vaccines, but he's not talking about the vaccine passports. I think not a lot of Republicans are really talking about the vaccine passport. I think the only one that really talked about it was Ron DeSantis. I think he's like the only one that's really kind of pushing back and saying we're not going to do this vaccine passport thing.
Yeah. Speaking of Ron DeSantis, are you jealous? Are you just a little bit jealous that I got Ron DeSantis and you got, that guy Newsom?
Man, it's it's unfortunate because, man, it blows my mind. Like I tweeted this out one time. I said Ron DeSantis makes me want to move to Florida. Like I'm so ready to just pack my bags and move to Florida and just go be free. But I also realized that there are some parts in Florida where you're not really free, because look at the CPAC situation. You had the CPAC where you still had to wear a mask. And so even though I appreciate what Ron DeSantis is doing for Florida, there's still some places that's not free, and that concerns me. The same thing with Texas. The governor might have lifted the mask mandate, but there's still places that's making you wear a mask. And until that gets lifted all the way, we're not really totally free. We got to open this country up 100% capacity. It's a shame that we're living in this kind of, but we're living in this tyrannical way where the mask is really what's controlling people's lives. If you really think about it, the mask is controlling our lives. We can't go anywhere without wearing a mask. Again, Texas and Florida may be lifted, but you got certain little spots in those states that's still pushing the mask, still pushing the social distance. So I appreciate Florida for being free. I wish I was there, but some places you're not all the way free, and that concerns me.
Yeah, as you talked about it, it made me think that, as much as it sucks that there are areas that they still have mask mandates, even though Texas is free, Dallas is tyrannical, Austin is tyrannical, Florida, you got Orlando, Miami. The thing about it is, it means that the system is actually working, because think about it like this. Power is decentralized. If Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida and he doesn't have the power to impose his will on Orlando and Miami and Tampa and all the urban hubs, that means that his power is checked. Because if he had the power to just say all of these things are going to be the way I want them to be, that would be great if he wasn't corrupt. But imagine if he was corrupt. You know what I mean? What needs to happen basically is strengthen numbers. The only way that this is going to change is by people like you going into these areas, talking to people, the blue areas. You got to wake people up. People got to see what's happening. They got to see the hypocrisy, because the only way mask mandates can be enforced is by compliance. Just like with them taking guns. They're not going to take guns. They're going to convince people to turn their guns in. That's just one example. And no gun owner, this is a horrible example. No true gun owner in America is going to turn their gun in. But mask mandates only work because people are submissive. Their ideas do require force, but what they do is they use fear. They use omnipresent threats. They use this virus to scare people into submission. Yeah. So while Ron DeSantis is great, I would love to nothing more than to see him stop the power grab and the authoritarianism in these cities. And same thing in California. It has to come from within the cities. It has to come from within New York. It has to come from within Sacramento. Right now, like I said, decentralized power, that's a good thing. But that's what it's got to be. It's unfortunate. I would love to see a bit broader conversation around these corporations, because the corporations are the ones that are really serving the government's interests. They're serving the interests of Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom and Democrats, and the fear mongers, really the CDC, Fauci, people that are pushing this fear. The corporations are responding. These airlines making you wear a mask, Costco making you wear a mask when you go in. I'm hearing things like employers are already telling employees that they're going to need to get vaccinated. That only works if employees agree to it. If all employees say, guess what? We're all going to band together. We're showing up without our masks. We're going to work without our masks. What are they going to do? Are they going to close for the day? What's Costco going to do? What would Costco do? For example, what would Costco do if 60%, 70% of their employees said, starting tomorrow, we're not wearing any masks and we're not going to force customers when they walk in to wear a mask? What is Costco going to do? They're going to have to change. That's the only way it's going to work. You have to just continue, strengthen numbers, people going out without their mask. There's a thing going on in not Miami, Fort Lauderdale on the 10th. It's a million maskless march. And at the end of that march, they're going to have a ceremonial burning of their masks. They've already reached out to local law enforcement. It's going to be a safe, controlled burn, but they're going to burn their masks as a symbol of rebellion, as a symbol of rebellion to the tyrants down there. Because yes, Florida is a place where it's free. In my county, I live in a small county. I can go anywhere without a mask. But if I lived in Miami or Broward County or Tampa or Orlando, which is not far from me, it wouldn't be the same. Because of the way that it's being enforced at these local levels, which is why you need to act locally.
I want to say about when it comes to making that change. So when I was doing a segment in Ojai, California, me and my friend we was doing street interviews. We was or the men on the street. And we was in what area was it? Ventura. We was on the Recall Gavin Newsom rally. We were talking to folks about the 3 mask thing. So we met some locals in Ventura. One guy was telling us to go to Ojai and kind of talk to folks out there. So as we went out there, we passed by this restaurant that had a Black Lives Matter sign. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, why do they have this sign here? I'm like, how do people feel walking in there who are non-Black seeing that? How does that make them feel? So I wanted to have that conversation. So I made this sign that said all lives matter and kind of protested in front of the restaurant and just having a conversation. And it got to a point where the restaurant owner came up to me and was feeling some type of way about my poster because I'm having this sign that says all lives matter and he has a sign that says Black Lives Matter. He was trying to kick me off of his in front of his restaurant, off the sidewalk. He's like, why don't you guys go over there? Why don't you guys go across the street? And I was like, no, we have the right to protest here. We stood our ground and we had the conversation about all lives matter. We had a couple people that were kind of triggered by it, but we had the conversation. And I was telling people about Black Lives Matter, how technically by definition it's racist because you're putting one race above another and making them superior. That by definition is racist. And so by having that conversation, and we had more positive than we had negative, me and my camera guy. And what happened was that we eventually got the restaurant to change their sign. They took down the sign and put this paper up and said, all are welcome, basically. And I thought that was a crazy thing. It blew my mind. One of the locals I met reached out to me and said, yeah, they changed their sign. They took it down and put up a new one and said, everybody's welcome. Doesn't matter their race, creed, religion. And I was like, wow, man, it was just me and my cameraman, 2 people that we stood our ground and stuck to our guns. And we were able to make a change like that. So if we can do that, I have faith that America could come together and say, let's not do the mask mandate anymore because we're in a year into this thing and COVID is, I don't want to say it's not real, but it's so similar to the flu that all you got to do is take care of yourself. For the longest time, they were saying to wash your hands. And now it's getting to a point where they're saying 2 masks. They're saying 3 masks. They're saying you got to get a vaccine. But with the vaccine, you can still get COVID. It's so crazy that they just keep moving the goalposts. And it's like, when is enough is enough? So if 2 guys can go to a city and have a conversation against the opposition and we can make that change, then America should be able to come together and say, no more mask mandate. We want our liberties back. We want to just live our lives without being told what to do. We should be able to do that. It's not that hard, but they convinced everyone that everybody was sick. That's why I'm officially going to say to me, it's a hoax, because they made everybody think that everybody has COVID. So now when you walk around, you're like, does he have COVID? Does she have COVID? He's not wearing a mask. She's not wearing a mask. They made everybody they made everybody's head on a swivel to make them think that we're all just a walking disease. And it's so crazy how we fell for that lie.
It was a complete lie. And we've known that the numbers have been inflated from basically the beginning when they were counting asymptomatic cases. Asymptomatic cases and false positives. That sounds like the same thing to me, because how do you convince somebody that they're sick even though their body hasn't told them that they're sick? Think about this. We got played from the beginning. You have to take a test to even see if you have it. Then they're telling you you're sick even though you're not sick. Go quarantine for 14 days. And then the numbers come out. We find out that the majority of cases or people that died, people that were hospitalized, were seniors, people that were overweight, or people who had underlying conditions. Then they tell you that the flu numbers are down because we were masked up. So you're telling me that the mask got rid of the flu or suppressed the flu numbers, but not the COVID numbers? I mean, none of it makes sense. It doesn't add up. It didn't add up from the beginning. And then, of course, the fear mongering, the freaking lady from the CDC talking about like the end is nigh, impending doom. She said that like the other day. It's like, how is that possible when more people have been vaccinated? The cases are going down. We've been open. So either the vaccines work or they don't. How is it that we're heading into dark winter 2.0 when more people are getting vaccinated right now? It doesn't make sense. I could go on and on about how none of these numbers add up. None of this makes any sense. They've been lying. They've been fear mongering. They've used this omnipresent threat to keep people in a constant state of fear and panic. The programming works on some. It doesn't work on me, which is why I wear this legalized freedom shirt wherever I go.
I like that shirt.
Without a mask. I bought another one today. I got to have at least 5 so I can wear it every single day. Because I'm making a point. I don't just want to be a maskless person in the store, because there's plenty of those, but I want to have a message of legalized freedom, because there's too many people that will put on a mask when they go in the store and then they just wear it out in the parking lot, get in their car, sanitize their steering wheel, all this nonsense. It's programming.
This might sound controversial, but I was going to say this is why women shouldn't run nothing. That's just me. I know it's controversial to say that, but I'm very old school. But women shouldn't run nothing, man. They put their emotion on it, like you said, with the CDC director. She was like, impending doom. You watch her on NBC. She's like really on the camera, eyes all big, and you're like, what are you talking about? I actually made a comparison where I found the article where she said that, and I found this article where it said cases were going down. I was like, what are you talking about? It's just crazy. I mean, I know it's controversial to say that about women running things, but when you have women running things, they destroy the country. That's just my opinion. But that's a whole conversation for a different time. I just want to point that out there. But you're absolutely right. The CDC director, man, that's the problem, is that they really are putting this fear monger on the people. So you're absolutely right. That's why I say that they convinced everybody that everybody was sick, And it's like, you got to ask yourself, how is it that every single person in America is a walking disease? Because they use that asymptomatic, even though Dr. Fauci and the World Health Organization even said that that's not a cause for an outbreak, but they made you believe that those who were not sick are sick. So now everybody, again, is walking around with this swivel, and when you don't have your mask on, they freak out. Sometimes I don't say sometimes, it's very rare, but I'll troll people. I have this Spider-Man mask, that I just troll people with, and I walk in and put it on, and no one says nothing. And I'm like, I could be a robber ready to rob this store. That's horrible to say, but it's like no one said nothing. Like, you guys are so convinced that just wearing the mask helps. I can be wearing anything. I can put on a scary mask costume, and you wouldn't say anything. That's how dumb it's gotten. It's so ridiculous. And I want people to come together and just say, let's end the mask mandate. If you want to wear a mask, you do you, but let that be a choice. All these, it's funny because all these people who talk about my body, my choice, the government shouldn't have to say, or tell a woman what to do with her body. But yet, when the government says wear a mask, you let them control your body. You know, I'm not saying I'm pro-choice or anything. I'm just saying that the concept that you say my body, my choice, but the government says wear a mask, and then now you wear a mask. What happened to my body, my choice?
Yeah, switching gears though. I don't know if you listen to Anomaly. He's out in California, just like you.
Yeah, I met him last weekend, 2 weekends ago.
Yeah. See, I feel like people need to listen to what he has to say right now because he's going against the grain in a rational way. Sometimes I feel like he goes a little bit hard, but for the most part, he's over the target as far as what Trump needs to do. Yeah. Trump has such a powerful voice, and when he talks, people listen. Trump needs to come out against the mask mandates, against the lockdowns. He needs to stop praising Operation Warp Speed. Bro, I don't care. I'm sorry. I know Trump support. Some people love Trump so much, you're not allowed to criticize him. If you're a hardcore Trump supporter, Trump supporters will, people who love Trump so much will downvote the video and unsubscribe because I'm criticizing him, but I'm doing it in a constructive way, not a delusional, Trump derangement syndrome way. He rushed this vaccine. He put pressure on these vaccine companies to rush this vaccine through safety trials. And as a result, that rushed vaccine is now being pointed at everyone saying, you're going to take this before you get your freedom back. I think he has a responsibility to speak out against that. I just say it could go a long way if he would acknowledge the tyranny behind the vaccine and the lockdowns and the mask mandates instead of talking about how he rushed it through safety trials. We did it fast. Yeah, that's cool. Which Americans are clapping like seals? I'm sure there are some. They're like, oh my God, Trump. But I'm like, bro, that doesn't do it for me. I cringe every time he talks about the vaccine. And I didn't say it. I didn't say anything about it leading up to the election for obvious reasons. Like, why would I rock that boat? But now that we're 3 months into this Biden bleep show, and he's talking about mask mandates and locking back down and vaccine passports, I'm like, no, enough is enough. Anybody that touts Operation Warp Speed talks about the vaccine like, well, it wouldn't have happened. Biden wouldn't have been able to distribute it if not for Trump. I'm sorry, that's a non-starter for me. I don't want to hear from Fox News, Newsmax, One America, all these blue checkmark conservatives like Charlie Kirk that just regurgitate the same talking points. I'm sick of hearing about it, man. We got to do something to fix the situation we're in because we're on a fast track to being just like China.
Yeah, but that's one thing that really bothered me when it came to Trump because, again, I went to his rallies. I had a great time, but I never liked the fact that we had to do the mask. Now, I went to Arizona for the first time I went to his rally. It's like, you got to wear a mask. And so I was like, what? So I put it on, but I took it off and I got inside. They didn't care. But it's the fact that, like, look, I love Trump. I appreciate the things he did. I really do. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, man, he's over here touting about the vaccines and shutting down. He's like, we had to close it down. We had to close it down. And I was like, did we have to, though? It's because of him. Like, him halting travel from China, I get it. But when you shut down the country and you brag about, well, if it wasn't for me, millions or hundreds of thousands of lives would have been lost. I'm like, but you didn't have to shut down. You didn't have to do any of that stuff. You could have opened back up. And I know he wanted to on Easter Sunday of last year. I think if he would have done that, he would have won the election easily. I mean, we know what happened with the election, but he would have won the election easily because he opened the country back up. That would have made the left and right say, wow, he does care about the American people. Because one thing that he ran on was jobs. And the fact that he was not able to bring that back when he wanted to, because he was pressured by whatever, and to push these vaccines out, some can say, well, he was doing it because of the election. It doesn't matter. You don't play by the rules just so you can get what you want. That's why Governor Kristi Noem is being criticized the way she is, because she was so against, transgender men who are women compete in women's sports, but then she caved to the left, and that's basically what Trump did. He caved to the left, and it should be okay to criticize Trump. Trump supporters are those who really love Trump shouldn't have a problem with that. You should be able to love somebody enough to be honest about them, and it's okay to be honest about Trump. Trump did Operation Warp Speed. He rushed the vaccine. He pushed the FDA to push these vaccines out, and now it's not even FDA approved. It's emergency authorized use only. I mean, there's just things that Trump has done that really bothered me. When he talked about, oh, I'm gonna protect your First Amendment, the Second Amendment, but then you pass a anti-Semite bill that was reported by the New York Post, where it limited free speech on college campuses, where they can't basically they can't talk about the Jews. And then he had this other bill that was like a bump stock that goes against the Second Amendment. And I was like, wait, but you're over here saying you're going to protect our First Amendment and Second Amendment, but you pass these executive orders that goes against the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. So I love what Trump has done, but I think 2020 was like his kryptonite. When the COVID happened, that was his kryptonite. He shut down, he rushed the vaccine, and now all he does is tout about the vaccine. He's not talking about the medical tyranny. He's not talking about the lockdown tyranny. He's not talking about any of this stuff. He's just talking about what he did, what he accomplished. But it's like, dude, you rushed the vaccine that now has complications. People are dying from it. They're getting these rashes from it. He's not talking about that. He's just saying, look what I did, and if I didn't do it, this would have happened. And it's like people are saying Trump 2024, and it's like, I don't know if I would vote for him in 2024 because he's not talking about what's really going on. He's just touting about, oh, I rushed the vaccine, and I had to rush the FDA and this and that. And it's like, I don't know, man. I get that people love Trump, but this is a guy that shut down the country. If people will say, well, that was the governor. Yeah, but he had a part in that. He shut down. He said it time and time again. We had to close it down. I'm thinking to myself, no, you didn't. You didn't have to close it down. You could have let everybody just live their lives and made it an option to wear a mask, made it an option to when they get a vaccine, make things an option. But instead, you cave to the left, and I can't get behind that.
Yeah, I think it's a harsh reality. It's a tough pill to swallow between that and the January 6th thing, where people are on FBI watch lists. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not trying to just like rail at Trump because he was the greatest president in my lifetime. I experienced so much growth, so much success, so much optimism in his economy. And if he were president right now, I'd be grateful. But at the same time, I'd be like, what's going to be different? I mean, the criticism of Fauci is great, but it's a year late. I'm sorry. The criticism of Dr. Birx and the CDC, he defunded the World Health Organization. That was great, but Biden just refunded it. So he did do a lot of good things, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he just didn't know. There were so many times that Right Side Broadcasting, we'd be, covering a Trump rally, and we'd be like, man, does he know how much we support him? Does he know that we're the only camera that turns around and shows the crowd? Maybe, just maybe, he'll give us a shout out at one of these rallies. He never did. He never did. Maybe it's because he just wasn't aware. Maybe he just had so much going on, or maybe someone was in his ear like, maybe don't do that. Don't. So I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he just didn't know.
But I noticed that because every time he always talk about the fake news, the crowd would turn and boo. But I'm like, wait, but Right Side is there. Matter of fact, when I watched one of your guys' live, you even said that people were looking at you a certain way because they thought you were fake news. But then when you put your hat on, they realized, oh, okay, he's a Trump supporter. I remember watching that. And I was like, that's crazy because Trump is always saying the fake news is back there and they're booing. But I'm like, but Right Side is there supporting Trump like heavily. They're supporting Trump tough. But everybody's booing them. And I'm like, that's not right. Trump should know who's backing him and who's not, especially when it comes to the media. If you guys are always the one sharing his videos, going live, and you're basically saying, hey, we support you, but he says, oh, the fake news media is back there and everybody's booing you guys. I don't know, man. Again, I love Trump, but, and I supported him. I voted for him. He did a lot of great things the first 3 years. This last year, it just wasn't it. Even on the January 6th thing, you can see his energy was not there. When he telling everybody, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and he kind of like drains the energy. He's like, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. And he didn't march with the people. I get that because, things happen, so they can't have him there. But I don't know, man. It seemed like that was more of a setup than it was a celebration because look at what happened. Now all Trump supporters are labeled terrorists. Because of January 6th, even though it's come out that there was those who were agitating, but I don't know, the January 6th thing, man, it was just I don't know, it set people up. To me, I didn't have a problem with people, addressing their going to the actual problem, but I don't know. I don't know if Trump knew or if he didn't know. I have no idea what kind of changed his mind and what swayed him. I heard this rumor that a friend told me, so I don't want to say because I don't know if it's true or not, but he was basically telling me that Trump was compromised by something, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know what this guy knew or what he didn't knew, but he seemed to have a lot of energy the first 3 years, and the last year when it came to COVID, he just kind of drained that down. He was like he's supposed to drain the swamp, but then he ended up becoming the swamp. I'm not sure, and I know what Trump supporters, they may get mad at me saying this, but you got to tell the truth, man. We have to be able to criticize Trump and say Trump was a great guy, but he screwed up 2020, bad. So he could have just opened the economy. Instead, he's always pointing the finger at the left. Look at what they're doing. They're tearing the country down and this and that, the radicals. Yeah, we see that, but what are you doing? If you open back up the country, there wouldn't be this riots. We all be back into work. Everybody can get their jobs back, more policing and things like that. But instead, it's just look at, and then look at what I accomplished. And it's like that doesn't help anything at all.
And the thing is, there's still a chance for him to turn this around. Nobody knows what his plans are. He says he's going to go to the southern border. He says he's going to have a rally soon. He may have something up his sleeve. And I don't mean that from like a QAnon. He's going to fight Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates. And that. Yeah. I'm not coming from that perspective because these people hallucinate all these things. Trump's really doing this when he's doing this. He says that, but he really means that. They led people off a cliff, so I don't mean that. But what I mean is maybe as something planned as a course of action, because he did talk about going up to Alaska to drain that swamp. Maybe he's going to try to drain the Republican swamp. He's going to start in Alaska. Then he's going to go to Wyoming. He needs to go to Utah. He needs to go to Kentucky. He needs to go to certain places, Susan Collins in Maine. He's got to go to these states and drain that swamp. He can speak a lot more freely now. He's having his own social media platform. So there's a lot of good things that he can do. We just aren't seeing it yet. It's just the establishment rhino Republicans. Like, I already knew that Kelly Loeffler was going to lose. I already knew it because her whole talking points were vote for me because the other guy's socialist. That's the same thing as her opponent saying, vote for me because the other person's racist. It doesn't move the needle. It doesn't get people fired up. You got to talk about the actual issues. The actual issues are COVID lockdowns, election integrity, the border, right? And then just general corruption, hypocrisy in the media, people getting off the hook. Everyone's worried about Matt Gaetz and what he did. How come we don't talk about Kevin Spacey anymore? Why is he a free man? We don't talk about all the people. What was on Anthony Weiner's laptop? Hillary Clinton ran for president. Anthony Weiner's laptop will probably take down half of Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get off on a tangent. I'm just saying there are a lot of bigger things going on in the country that if a true Republican or a Democrat, whoever the hell, runs for office, they need to be focused on the issues that you and I and everybody watching are thinking about, not I rushed Moderna, I rushed this, I did that, or look at my record, I've been in this position for this long. And people that are seasoned politicians like Mitch McConnell and the rest, they have to go. They simply have to go. We need more disruptors in there that are going to actually shake up things, go in there like a battering ram. And that's what Trump did do at the beginning. And who knows what happened down the stretch. All I know is here we are now. And the solutions lie in front of us right now. And it's continuing to talk about what we've been talking about and hopefully wake more people up.
I think that that's the problem when it came to conservatives is that, and even those who I'll say more conservative because last year we sat back and just kind of waited for something to happen. And then we let the left kind of just do what they do. And we didn't do anything about it. Like we had like Kyle Rittenhouse who did something. If more conservatives came out and protected the areas, the left wouldn't have been dominant as they were in 2020. But instead, we just sat back. I mean, again, you had Elijah Schaefer, Drew Hernandez, Savannah Hernandez. You had these guys down there on the grounds, and I appreciate that. But if more conservatives came out and were on the ground against Antifa, against BLM, things like that, they wouldn't have been as dominant. But instead, we just sat back and let these guys do it, and we just kind of tweeted about it and things like that. I'm guilty of it too, so I'm no better. But that's the problem with conservatives now is that we're not coming together enough because now we're fighting amongst each other because you got some conservatives who spout free speech, but then ban people like Nick Fuentes from Turning Point USA. So it's like we're not even on the same page anymore when it comes to conservatives. We're so different now, and we're arguing amongst each other that we're not even seeing the bigger picture. And that's what's happening with conservatives is that we're so, again, I'm just as guilty too. So we're pointing out all the small things like Dr. Seuss and Lil Nas X and Cardi B. Oh my God, look at what they're doing. But we have bigger issues going on. The border crisis, illegal aliens coming in who getting in-person learning while children in San Diego are still doing virtual learning. You know what I mean? I'm all for homeschool. I'd rather people do homeschool, but I'm saying that's the situation that's happening is that we have this border crisis. We have this vaccine passport. We have these things going on, but we're so focused on the smaller issue that we got to start coming together and saying, let's solve the bigger issue. Let's go for the bigger fish. And right now in the conservative realm, it's just not happening. We're becoming weaker and weaker and weaker by doing what the left always does and just complain but do nothing about it. It's like you said earlier. We have folks used to do man on the street and go out there and talk to people. Like sometimes you see Caitlin Bennett, she's out there, but it's not as much as they were doing it last year. If more conservatives stop focusing on the small problems and stop being distracted with things like Dr. Seuss, we can actually focus on the bigger problem. And that's what needs to change. Either we stand up and fight against the left. You know, something I was kind of thinking about too, and this may be kind of, radical to say, but I think we're really afraid to just go to war. I think that's what it comes down to. I think we're afraid to go to war. We always talk about, how those who went to war for us to fight for our freedoms. I think we're scared to just go to war and really just die for this country. We always say, give me liberty or give me death, but I think we don't want to die. We want our liberties without dying, but at this point, what does it come down to? I'm not saying to start a war. I'm not trying to condone violence or anything like that. I'm just saying, what does it come down to? How much are we willing to fight? Are we going to just tweet about it every single time? Or are we going to actually make a change and get out there and band together and stand up against something? Again, I'm not wishing anybody dies or anything like that. I'm just saying, how much are we willing to fight? We either fight for this country or we don't. And if we don't, then comply, wear the mask, do what Joe Biden says, or we can fight for this country and get our freedoms back and get the country back.
Whew, that was beautifully stated. I couldn't say it any better myself. Man, well, I mean, I guess we could start wrapping. I had some other topics, but we were going back and forth, and this was really good. I think people enjoyed it. I guess go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't really see what's going on in the chats because we're on this StreamYard, so I can't say anything. So I don't know anybody's saying. I hope you guys really appreciate my answers. I'm just trying to, just doing me.
Yeah, man, you're great. I hope you guys subscribe to this man's channel. Again, if you're just tuning in and you're new, his name's Julius Giles. He just started a YouTube channel. He does man on the street stuff in California, Sacramento area, and he only has like 160 some subscribers. Get him to 1,000 subscribers tonight. If you're a fan of my channel, if you like my content, you need to be supporting him. Click the link. It's pinned at the top of the chat here. Subscribe to his channel. Support an up-and-coming content creator that's trying to make a difference and make an impact in our country's largest state.
I want to say, too, if it's possible for everybody watching, it would be, if you guys can, give me to 1,000 subscribers because then I can go live stream with you guys and really just have that conversation, have that dialogue. I go live on Facebook. I used to go live on Twitter, but I want to really go live on YouTube to kind of, spread the word and kind of have a bigger reach. So do subscribe. If I could end on anything, I would just say this. For anybody watching it, whether you're on the left, right, whatever, we have to come together and have the dialogue. We have to find the solution. We're never going to get anywhere if we allow the mainstream media, the politicians, celebrities, the social medias, these influencers, if we let them tell us a certain narrative and you don't dig deeper into that information, you're always going to be steered down the wrong way. Don't even listen to me. Do your own research, but we have to come together and have the dialogue. All this narrative about racism and white supremacy, this and that, that's all just to divide. We have to start coming together. We do have different ideologies, yes, but we can always find a solution within those ideologies. Human beings naturally get along. We naturally do get along. It's just once you realize that somebody's pro-life and pro-choice, that's where the separation becomes. So we have to have that conversation to be able to come together. If we disagree, it's totally fine, but let's have the dialogue so we can actually move forward and not keep going backwards.
Amen. Amen. Well, tell people where they can find you. I've pinned your YouTube channel, but tell them where they can find you and what you're going to be working on next.
You guys can, I don't like to use the word follow. You guys can add me on Facebook. You can add me on Twitter. You can, on Facebook, it's AKA JUELZ. That's AKA Jules, only because I used to do music. I'm going to change the name pretty soon. But you can add me on Facebook, add me on Twitter at Today with Julius, add me on Gab, Today with Julius, Instagram, Today with Julius. You can also add me on Revival Social. It's a social media platform that a friend of mine is on Twitter made, so you can add me on there. Today with Julius. Subscribe, like my video, share it. If you guys want to take a clip of those videos, use a clip, share it, get it out there to the people as much as you can. I am working on a lot of videos. Right now, I'm working on a lot. It's just that I'm trying to find a good intro for my videos. If anybody out there is a graphic designer, hit me up and let's work together. It'd be really nice. I'm trying to find some, but I'm working on videos right now. I'm working on the George Floyd video. I'm waiting for the trials over so I can really kind of put that together so I can have all the facts. I'm working on that. I still have more content from my man on the street. I'm definitely get that out there for you guys. You can support me on Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Today with Julius. All the content that I don't upload to YouTube will be on Patreon exclusively for you guys. So support me on there so I can continue to kind of go across the United States and kind of talk to more people, have these conversations. So support me, add me, all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all you guys. I love you guys. God bless you. God bless America.
Wow, you just wrapped it up for us right there. Dang, that's perfect, man. See, you're going places. You're definitely going places. And I'm gonna check this too to see how many subscribers you have at the end of this, because I saw before you had like 161. And with all the people watching and all the people that will see this,
Yeah.
even though YouTube's putting their thumb on the scale, I say there's not as many people that normally watch.
Yeah.
When people go back and rewatch it, they better subscribe to your channel. That's all I gotta say.
And also to everybody, follow Mike Nificent on all his platforms as well. Follow this guy. It's funny because real quick, I actually saw you the first time you went live. You was out, I think it was in Florida. You was this was like last year. First time I ever knew about you. I saw you out there protesting like with a big flag, and you were just kind of waving it around. I was like, that's cool that he's out there doing something. So follow this guy. He speaks the truth. He's all about truth, nothing but facts. So follow this guy as well on all the social media platforms.
Appreciate it. Yes, guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next stream.